Alright, it has been 6 months since I've produced a proper video. Let me check. Yeah, the conspiracy video was uploaded on the 1st of Feb and I got told to take it down a week later. But yeah, you've seen the title. So think of this video as my explanation for the gap on my CV. Anyway, yeah, I've moved back to China now. I actually live 5 minutes away from Lu. Got his shoes to prove it. And yeah, he's doing great. Still waiting for the results from the appeal. The company's doing great. We've actually launched a new shoe. You've probably seen it, and I should probably do a review of it at some point. That's the shoe, if you can't see it. Hopefully this time I will produce Team China Insider on a more regular schedule. And for this non-weightlifting related episode, I want to talk about how I ended up in Team China. Okay, I want to start by talking about how I actually got into weightlifting. It was around 2018 and I was still doing the generic bodybuilding stuff, you know, the bro split. Eventually it got very repetitive and boring. Then one day I saw my friend posted something on Instagram of him doing a muscle up. And I thought this was pretty cool, so I asked him, and guess what?
Have you heard of CrossFit?
I started doing some research into CrossFit, and honestly it was quite eye-opening. And I started learning more about functional training, etc, and I decided to give it a go. So I googled the nearest CrossFit box and signed up for a free trial. I still remember the WOD was being like 10 snatches, 10 box step over, and 10 burpees or something for 5 rounds. And I never went back again. It was just too tiring for me. But that was my introduction to weightlifting. So I started doing some research. I watched a lot of weightlifting videos back then. It was mostly Zach Callender and Torhiti's tutorial. They were probably my biggest inspirations back then. Even till today, I still think they are very informative and helpful. And eventually I started watching ATG and Hook Grip's video. Well, mostly the Chinese ones. And then I was like, hold on. If the Chinese weightlifting team is so successful, why haven't I, someone who was working for a Chinese state media, know nothing about it? Yeah, so I was actually a journalist back in the day. I studied journalism in university, hence the journalist in Squat Jerk Journalist. And I decided to get serious about weightlifting. I went back to China that year and bought some coaching sessions from this Douyin famous influencer / coach called Xi Bao. And that was my first ever weightlifting coaching session. And you see the straps she used there? So I asked if I could buy some of her and bring it back to my mates in the UK. She said she didn't have that many available, but she did give me the contact of someone from Lu Xiaojun Barbell. And we never talked. Fast forward to Worlds 2019. That was the first time I watched a competition from start to finish. And I pretty much screamed when Lu made the 207. And then it hit me. I should use my resources to create some content on social media. Because my job at the time was basically covering anything Chinese related that was happening in Europe. And coincidentally, this guy called Alex from Lu Xiaojun Barbell, he messaged me saying, hey, so you can produce video content, right? I was like, yes. Well, would you like to come to Switzerland and film the Chinese national team and interview Lu himself? So I gathered some research like on how popular Chinese weightlifting is on the overseas internet and how Lu was considered the peak traffic at the time. I asked my boss at the time if they would cover my expenses to go to Switzerland, and I promised that I will bring back the most viewed YouTube news story of the time. To which he replied, well, weightlifting, That's a bit niche, isn't it? So I said fine, take 2 days of my annual leave and I will go by myself. And I paid for my own flight, and Alex was nice enough to pay for my hotel. And then, you remember, this video happened. So, the Chinese weightlifting team arrived in Switzerland. Bear in mind, up until this point, my channel only existed as the portfolio for when I go in for job interviews. And it had like 2 subscribers. Then it went up to like 1,000 within a week. And the whole point of the video was to prove to my boss that he was wrong. And I know more than him on what works on social media. But as I started reading the comment section, I realized there was a high demand for what I did. And previously, the only weightlifting video existing on YouTube were mostly training videos. So I thought I should utilize the skill set I learned from my work and used it for the sport of weightlifting. And it was great. And I managed to get a lot of interesting content out there. And after the Olympics, you pretty much know, Lou stopped training completely and he focused on his family life and sponsorships.
1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8。
So I had to improvise and I went to do some interviews with those guys. But let's be honest, what you guys really want to see is the training videos. So I was like, yeah, I had to get myself into the national team. I pulled some strings and essentially I pitched to them. My work has contributed to the success of Lu Xiaojun in the overseas social media. And now, since he has retired, I think I can help the others grow and increase their social media awareness overseas. And I said this: to help project China's soft power and influence over the Western media. In order to do this job, I must go into the Chinese national team. And I was in. So you thought the story would end there, right? Turns out, the first few months in the national team was actually the most depressing period of my life. Yeah, I was extremely overwhelmed at first. It was great seeing their training, diet, recovery. I was living, eating, training with them. But they weren't training for anything. It turns out the Chinese National Championship got postponed, the Asian Game got postponed, and the World Championship, which was supposed to be held in Chongqing, that got postponed as well and got moved to Bogota. So I got bored after about 2 weeks. And you know the worst part? I wasn't allowed to post anything. You notice that I may have posted a few videos, but I got told off straight away. You see, the marketing of the Chinese weightlifting team is all being outsourced by this agency, and they don't like it when I post stuff. But if you want to check out their stuff, go directly to Douyin. That is why I didn't post much back in the days. But that all changed when Lou came back to the national team and I started posting again. And what happened next? Well, you're pretty much caught up. So what now? Well, I've taken a more passive role in the company and I actually started doing a bit of sales, which is why you've seen me sending shoes to all these athletes. Hopefully I will be more active now, and I've wrote down a bunch of topics already. Just need to get motivated to write the scripts and produce the content. Yes, I will be still going to comps to cover them. If you're still watching now, I just want to thank everyone who has supported me and Tiantao on Patreon. With your help that I'm still alive and not living on the streets, and he's able to upgrade his fishing gears. Yeah, again, thanks for watching, and if you have any content ideas or suggestion, let me know in the comment section. Goodbye for now.